Good evening, everyone. This is the South Burlington Development Review Board meeting, Tuesday, March 18th, 2025. I'm Quinn Mann, serving as acting chair of the board this evening. I'll introduce my other board members, Charlie Johnston, Jody Lesko, Frank Kochman, John Moscatelli, and Mark Baer. Before we get into our formal agenda, just a couple housekeeping items. First, there's a couple ways to attend tonight's meeting. You can be in person or online. Either way, it's important that you sign in. If you're in person, you can sign in at the back of the room. And if we have anyone online, you can type your name and email into the chat box, or you can email your contact information to Marla Keene at mkeene@southburlingtonvt.gov. And on that note, to my other side, we have Marla Keene and Marta Gillies, our staff with the city. And so with that, we'll start with the formal agenda. First, agenda item, emergency evacuation procedures for those of us in the room this evening. 2 exits at the back of the room, go right or left, and you will find the exits. Next item, any additions, deletions, or changes in order of agenda items?
Yep, I have a minor addition. It's just, I forgot, because we're not used to this new agenda center yet, I forgot to add other business at the end. So
Okay.
After minutes will be other business.
All right, very good. We will add that. Any? Oh.
Hey Keith, I think your mic's on.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh. Okay. Any other announcements from anyone? No? Oh. Any comments and questions from the public not related to the agenda? And on that note, I will say if you're attending and you're looking to make any comments on the items being discussed that are on the agenda, there will be a time for public comment provided for each item. This evening we only have one, and that will come after the board and the applicant has chatted through the staff report. So that will be when public comment for the agenda item is available. And with that, we'll move on to agenda item number 5, our one project for this evening. So this is final plat application SD 2503 of WGM Associates for phase 1 of a master plan consisting of 11 single-family home lots, a civic space lot, an existing non-conforming commercial or private parking facility. The phase consists of the creation of 7 lots, 3 containing existing single-family homes, 2 to contain new homes, 1 to contain an existing non-conforming commercial or private parking facility and new home, and 1 civic space lot at 850 Hinesburg Road. Welcome. So we've seen you guys before. If you want to briefly introduce yourselves.
So this is a new application.
Oh, so sorry. Yes.
Nope, no worries.
So we've seen you before, but we will introduce yourself and then we'll swear you in and get started.
Dave Marshall from Civil Engineering Associates.
Is your mic on, Dave? There we go.
Dave Marshall from Civil Engineering Associates.
Nicole Wright.
Excellent, thank you. So just raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, under penalty of perjury?
I do.
I do.
Excellent, thank you. So yes, first phase 1 after your approved master plan application. So we're familiar with this lot, but if you just want to start with any opening remarks before we dive into the staff report.
So this is the final plat application. This is intended to pull all the pieces together, legal and otherwise. And with that, this application package addressed the preliminary plan conditions of approval in theory. We'll talk about a couple of those. And with that, the Wrights are very excited about the being able to create the 3 lots for the families. And out of all that, we are here before you to talk about that further.
Excellent. So with that, I'll move to the items in the staff report. The first one being on page 9. So this comment is about the stormwater infrastructure that is proposed on the civic lot, which is proposed as a community garden. And I will just read the comment here. Prior to closing the hearing, staff recommends the board requires the applicant to identify the various features in the civic space lot on the appropriate plans for board review. So again, it appears like the gravity pipe is there, but just some labeling to be provided.
That's correct. So looking at all the plans, for whatever reason, there are no labels in
Flip to the
regards to
plan.
what's proposed there. So if we can look at perhaps sheet 2.0, that will allow us to focus in on the right-hand side of the sheet. So north is straight up and east is on the right-hand side. Starting at the top and working down, this is essentially intended to be a community garden facility within this particular civic open space. It does have some other components with them in them, so we'll start at the very top at the north end and work south. That is a community garden area in that particular location. As you move south, this is actually a stormwater management facility. It's a gravel wetland that there was discussion at the preliminary plan hearing as far as whether or not that was acceptable to have within this particular area. And generally, the staff report indicates confirmation from the board that that was an acceptable component. One of the aspects of that particular facility is as you move south to the second oval area, that's actually what we call a forebay, and that provides the initial place where all stormwater goes, and you settle out the solids. But in this particular case, we're also looking to double use that particular area as some irrigation water for those particular areas to the south, which are downhill of that particular forebay. So there's a question within staff report as far as hey, what's this particular yard hydrant? Well, it's essentially a connection for the piping that allows for that particular water to be used by gravity for those areas further downhill. But in this particular case, as far as things that are not called out that we'd like to get on the record, essentially we have underneath the call out for the acreage is essentially a garden shed. So accessory structure there, and then we have raised beds proposed in that particular area. Do you want to talk about the next one? So take a close look at the shape. That's essentially the butterfly planting area. It's intended to be planted out with those plants that support butterflies, and we had some fun with regard to at least the shape there. Moving further south, a number of additional community garden plots to fill out the area.
Excellent. Any questions, board?
Can I
Yep.
make a suggestion? If the board would feel comfortable, it might be wise to have the decision say that these types of features are in this open space and not limit it to exactly the configuration shown on this plan, because that might change over time.
Yep, that sounds good.
So that'll be one less thing we have to bother Marla and Marty on.
I got a question. Dave, can you speak to the one comment at the bottom of the page
Yes.
for this area may be utilized, provided, how are you going to address that or know whether or not it will be?
So the discussion point with regard to these particular activities being located within a wetland buffer, the intent of making sure you didn't put anything inside a wetland buffer is to ensure that the wetland itself is protected. In this particular case, the discussion we had at the preliminary plan hearing was to put a note on the plans that indicated that the activities in that particular area should be managed in a way so as not to create adverse issues for the receiving waters at the wetlands downhill. So in this particular case, this area primarily slopes southerly as well as easterly. So we wanted to provide guidance in regards to how that particular area is to be used. So things that frustrate civil engineers and stormwater people when we drive by farm sites and you see these areas tilled through the winter and runoff running off into the receiving waters. We want to ensure that how that particular area is managed is that we're not going to be seeing those particular types of activities or runoff towards the wetland. So, Mark, I don't know if I quite answered your question, but that was the intent.
Could you roll it up just a little bit? Just go north. Yeah, I'm looking at future connector road to be constructed upon future development of lots 2 and 3.
Okay.
This to be constructed by whom?
So, if the project were to go forward with phase 2, the requirement is that the road be constructed in that general location from the T intersection further to the north, all the way to the property line to the south, and then some. So it's really kind of a placeholder, Frank, in regards to what's happening in that particular area, just for planning purposes and orientation purposes.
But you've got to, and this might be unnecessary. Maybe you can help me out a little bit here when you're talking about this future development. I mean, this has the potential for being subdivided and sold off, right?
Just to clarify, that's part of their master plan, right? This is a note from the master plan that there's another phase.
Right, but I'm trying to understand something about the force of the master plan. So I guess I'm directing the question to you, which is, let's say they built phase 1, right? And say, we've got this lot here. Let's sell it. Let's just sell it. Can they do that?
Sure. But the master plan approval runs with the land.
But
The master plan approval runs with the land.
okay, so how would you, and then that brings me to my next question. Who then becomes responsible for construction of the road?
The developer of the land.
All right, so that developer needs to see what the requirements are, what the legal requirements are, and make sure, to get to my point, he's got the right along the whole course of the road to build the road that the permit requires. That's kind of how the pieces would fall into place there.
Right. And I think that the master plan is written in a way that process is fairly well laid out.
Okay. Thank you.
Mark, did you have any other follow-up on here? Okay. All right, we will move on to item number 2, page 12. So this was, hopefully I'm not speaking here, back in the master plan approval. There were comments from the Department Director of Public Works about increasing the driveway culverts to 18 inches and verify appropriate cover. The staff comment here is, upon review, it appears the South Burlington minimum driveway culvert size is in fact 15 inches. Furthermore, it appears the applicant has provided inadequate cover for specified pipe materials. Is that a modification to comply with those items you guys can make?
We don't. My confession is that I should have checked the plans better before they went in with the application. We instructed staff to create the 18-inch accommodation for the culverts and adequate cover over the top. What we're trying to do is ensure that as vehicles, especially any type of moving vehicles going in and out that have high traffic loads, won't crush the pipe. And I think we found math errors in regards to the ability to provide that particular cover. But the great news about this site, there's plenty of slope to enable that to occur. So we would be humbly accepted of a condition that requires that be corrected.
What's the
Are you fairly confident that you're not going to have to redesign things to make that cover work?
No. No, I'm very confident that we will not have to do. So let me answer the question. We're very comfortable that we can accommodate the cover required
Without changing
in
the
this
site
particular
layout.
area. it would require relabeling and some contour adjustments.
Yeah, if we're going to
But
condition the cover,
it-
would you suggest a 12-inch cover be the condition?
That's fine. Right. No, anything, essentially, I hate to have these particular conditions carried forward, but nonetheless, in the interest of trying to move the project along, but prior to the ability to ask for zoning permit, zoning permit for any subsequent work on the project, we need to correct these things. So that's fine.
Okay, so we have what we need for a condition.
Yeah, I just don't want you to find that it can't be accommodated within the layout that the board approves and then say, oh crap, we have to reopen the hearing.
So I guess, Marla, what's your concern as far as our ability to make those changes?
Does the ditch need to be wider? Like the extents of the grading need to be wider? Will you have to move the driveways? If you're thinking it's probably going to look exactly the same in XY space, I think you're probably okay.
So the answer is that things might change by 3 feet or so as far as the limits. So in our mind, it's a de minimis change in regards to the character of the project.
Does that feel okay to you guys?
Yeah, if you go to sheet 26 of the PDF, shows the grading plan. I think what you're getting at is you just need to change the contouring so that the pipes
Right.
can get
That's
6
correct.
inches deeper. Essentially, right now, you have an 18-inch pipe that only has 2 inches of cover. So if you go to a 15-inch, that gives you 5 inches.
We bought 3 inches.
Another
Absolutely.
foot of contour change, right? Which requires extra excavation, is what you're suggesting.
Okay.
Thanks for checking that on the fly.
I did it last night, yeah.
All right, moving on to comment 3. Before we jump into this, I unfortunately need help with what an IOD is. I looked back at the master plan and couldn't find this, so
Oh, I'm sorry.
that's okay. No, and I might have overlooked it, but before I get into it, just and I didn't see it in the docs here. So what's the IOD we're
An
looking at?
irrevocable offer of dedication.
Irrevocable offer of dedication. Got it. Okay. So the applicant has provided an IOD. The draft deed is provided as an attachment to the IOD. Typically, the board accepts draft IODs and deeds as sufficient for issuance of a final plat decision and requires city attorney review and acceptance of the IODs and deeds as a condition prior to recording the plat. Staff recommends the board affirm it is their intention to follow this practice here. Does the board have any concerns with that in this case? No. Frank? Okay. All right, then we will move on. Comment number 4 is about varying the tree species, putting in something other than maples. Do you have thoughts on that? Or a mix, not just maples.
So Keith said, I love maple trees. So we have heard from the arborist. He says, I don't love maple trees that much. And the intent of the comment was to make sure that if there's some sort of blight that came through, that you didn't lose all the trees. So in this particular case, the city's approach is to provide diversity as far as the types of trees. And we haven't done that yet on the plan. We did mark up a plan that introduced oak trees and Princeton elms into the mix, and I've got a copy of it here. I did send an email to Marla late today.
Yeah.
And the question ultimately is one of the challenges that we have in it with any condition is that it needs to be able to be reviewed or understood by a third party person in a manner that there's no issue as far as what the obligation is. And there lies in the challenge that we have with modifying a landscaping plan is how do we narrate that in a way that allows a third party person to understand exactly what the obligations are. So the question is whether we want to try to work that out or whether we want to continue the hearing.
Why don't I pull up the plan?
Yeah, it's on page 44.
No, I have the new plan from
Oh,
Dave.
okay. Sorry.
So this
Can I
is the revised plan with multiple tree species. That more or less that's what it shows. Okay, sorry, did someone?
I assume we have the arborist has some sort of list that they go off of.
They do have a list.
'Cause I would
did you
suggest we-
select the trees from the city's list?
I'm sorry, Marla.
Did you these new trees that you're showing, were they from the city's list?
Yes.
Okay.
So they just had a very generic name, and then we went and chose genus or
Oh, I'm
species.
sorry. The DPW specifications have specific
Oh, I'm
genus
sorry.
and species.
So the answer is I did not pull them from that particular listing.
Okay.
I would suggest that we just point to that list and say that you'll have a mix where no more than 25% of the trees are from any one species. Mix and match as you like. If they're approved on the list, do it. Because coming from a street where we have all ash trees and they just went through and took down about a dozen of them, it's getting sad. So you don't want to do that because you never know what the next blight's going to be. So diversity is really good.
S-
That's fine. We can pick from the approved list. That's
And,
totally
I mean,
acceptable.
Public Works is a 50% spec.
I think that's generous, but
I agree, but
we
I'm
could,
just
we
saying
could do that
that's
if
the
there's
way
a spec there. Yeah, that's
When I
just
read
read it.
this, though, I have a
First line
quick
up there.
question.
Yeah.
When we say species, are we saying maple is a species, or are we saying because they have red maple, sugar maple? They do have 3 different types of maples, right?
Right. I think you should probably say genus, right? What is the? Do you have the public works spec?
no,
open?
I
Is
don't
that-
have it in front of me.
Why not
It was
just
the
Fine.
first sentence of
Oh.
the thing saying there's
Is
no
it-
minimum. There's no minimum required landscaping budget for this project. The applicant is proposing 14 street trees installed at 2.5 to 3 inch caliber of 3 maple species. The City of South Burlington Public Works specifications require no more than 50% of any one species. This is proposed to be met. And then the city arborist reviewed the provided plans, offers the following, and gave the list of the looking for a variety of species of elm, oak, honey locust, etc., not ash trees! Exclamation points.
Okay. Why don't you workshop this one in deliberation?
Yeah, I think
Yep.
we can.
Okay.
And it sounds
That's
like you're amenable to
John, your
25.
proposal works fine.
And it is
In regards
understood
to
that Keith
achieving
is
the
in
goal.
favor of maples.
Yes. Was that our last? Yeah, that was our last comment. If I'm recalling
was it.
everything correctly, we have enough to condition things that are currently outstanding. Does anyone else have any heartburn about anything? Okay. With that, anything else? Any final items? Nope.
No, we've been very thankful for your time and
Yes.
your ideas and execution.
I don't think we have any of the public online. No one is here, so I think we're good to move on from public comment. And with that, I would entertain a motion.
Motion to close.
Second.
All those in favor? Favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? All right.
Very good.
Hearing
Again,
from
thank
us.
you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Agenda item number 6. We are looking at the minutes.
Yeah, I apologize. I accidentally included the January 21st minutes. You have already approved those, so
Yeah.
please ignore those. But the February 19th minutes were included if you have any corrections or are okay to approve them.
Any motion on that front? This is the February. Sorry.
Approve the minutes from the February 19th, 2025 meeting.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
I
All those opposed? Anyone abstain? Nope. All right. Motion carries. And
Another
our-
business.
and other business as was added to the agenda.
Yes, sorry.
No.
Still getting used to the agenda center. So other business, your next regular meeting is April 1st. You'll have regular DRB business. April 15th is when we are aiming for the Code of Ethics discussion. So please make sure you have done the video before that point. And also planning a presentation of legal counsel's role in supporting the Development Review Board.
I'm sorry, what is special about April 15th? I didn't catch that.
2 non-application items. One is code of ethics discussion,
Code of ethics.
Or code of ethics.
That email.
Go.
and second is
I
pres-
watched the video and we're gonna have a fight about whether I have to watch it again. Because it didn't do what it said it was gonna do at the end. But we'll save that.
We'll save it for
somewhere
April
else.
15th.
and that's all I had.
Okay. Be prepared for that. All right, and with that, the meeting ends at 7:29.
Great, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Meeting is off.